Let's talk about how changing your mind will change your future, turning your stumbling blocks into your greatest stepping stones to success. I'm often asked to speak about motivation, inspiration, and internal communication, but first, I'm going to perhaps shock you, surprise you, upset you, even possibly offend you. Just as a field of crops cannot be planted until the ground is plowed, the soil turned over, the chunks broken up, I must speak the truth in love first before you'll be able to blossom, bud, and grow. Hopefully, I'm going to plow up the field of your mind so you can receive some new seed thoughts right here, right now, today. Fair enough? This could very well be the day that changes everything for you, but you've got to listen. Let my words soak in. Most busy executives totally miss this simple secret that is proven to radically increase business results. Wondering what it is? Sure. It's all about investing in yourself first because it pays huge dividends. But it's all about discipline, teachability, willpower. Are you still with me? For example, who is Cameron McCormick? Well, Masters champion and two-time PGA FedEx Cup champion Jordan Spieth has had the same golf coach since he was a junior golfer, and that man is Cameron McCormick. Spieth receives correction, direction, and training from someone else, from his coach, all the time. Remember Gary Player? Gary Player once had a fan come up and ask him, "Gee, Mr. Player, I sure wish I could play golf like you." Player kind of snapped back. He said, "No, you don't. You wish you could play golf like me if it was easy. Do you know what it takes to play golf like me? You go out at the crack of dawn and hit 1,000 golf balls until your hand bleeds. Then you go to the clubhouse, wash the blood off your blistered hand and bandage it up and go out and hit another 1,000 golf balls. That's what it takes to hit a golf ball like me." Well, you need to know right now that I can't motivate you, but I can teach you how to motivate yourself. And that's far more powerful because it's lasting. Oh, yes, I can inspire you, get your emotions going, psych you up. That'll last, about a day. But for you to succeed in business, you must be able to motivate yourself daily, come sunshine or rain, come hell or high water. You must develop a mental toughness when it seems like you're standing at the bank of the Red Sea with no way to escape, and the Egyptian army is hot on the trail right behind you. A philosopher once said, "A person who has a strong enough why can bear almost anyhow." You've got to know your why, and your why must be big enough to sustain you during the tough times, or, quite frankly, you'll fold up, pack up, tuck your tail between your legs, and go home and suck your thumb at the very first sign of adversity. Oh, yes, I see it happen all the time. When I was with another company, I got an email from a dealer who wanted to return her products to the factory. She wrote, "I can't sell these," so I called her. She complained about how they were overpriced, people couldn't afford them. She complained about how if this were such an ethical company, we wouldn't charge such a high interest rate to finance them. How outrageous it was that she should have on shipping and handling. That seemed dishonest to her, and how she just can't sell these things. So I began to ask her a few simple questions. I discovered that she actually had sold 4 products already, and her excuse had nothing to do with her sponsor, her upline, the company, or anything else, except she had decided that she can't sell the few products she had left. Her real reason was she stopped trying. She decided that she didn't have enough time. It's not that she couldn't, it's that she wouldn't. So after I asked her a few questions, I said, "So the real issue is time, right? You don't have enough time right now." She admitted that was the real issue. So here's the 3 P's you need: personal responsibility, perseverance, personal power. In other words, internal communication or self-talk. True story, a school teacher wrote can't on the blackboard, told his students to knock the T off of can't. Never, ever say you can't do something. Then he had them quote, "I can do all things through him who strengthens me." Let's be honest, shall we? You won't always have the strength to do it, but you must have a source of constant strength that you can draw from. Let's not get off on blaming the weather, your relatives, the Democrats, the Republicans, the liberals, the conservatives, the economy, your environment, your education, or any other excuse. Take Muhammad Ali, who often said in public, "I am the greatest of all time," and he certainly was the great heavyweight champion of the world. But the fact of the matter is, did you know Muhammad Ali said, "I hated every minute of the training, but I said, don't quit, suffer now, and live the rest of your life as a champion." That's the power of clarity and focus. Do you have it? Or how about Tom Monahan, the founder of Domino's Pizza? He worked 16 to 18 hours a day for 10 years trying to build his business. After all that work, he was going to have to file for bankruptcy. Well, he didn't want to do that, so he reluctantly brought in a brand new management team. They kept him on as president, but took all his authority away because they couldn't find anyone else willing to work all those hours for only $200 a week. Tom Monahan spent another 9 years diligently working to turn his business around before making it the success that it is today. What if you hung in there and just continued to take action? Did you know the founder of Papa John's Pizza got kicked out of his college dorm room for making pizza sauce on a hot plate? How many have ever been to Disney World or Disneyland? Walt Disney, successful, right? Did you know that Walt Disney was on the verge of bankruptcy every 18 months for 30 years? If it's possible for his dream to come true, what about you? Let me give you a huge example. Bad times produce good times. Adversity creates the right climate for creativity and positive change. Why? Because we're desperate, and our desperation drives us to find a solution. I kind of feel sorry for people who have never had it tough. The Bible says, "We also rejoice in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance produces character, and character produces hope. And hope does not disappoint us because God has poured his love into our hearts." In my own life, my father died at age 49 when I was just 22 years old. 2 years later, my baby son catches a virus in the hospital incubator and ends up with cerebral palsy, in a wheelchair and diapers until he passes away at age 5, and his sister was born 3 days later. Years ago, I came close to bankruptcy. My house appraises 1 year for thousands of dollars, the next year for a third less. The real estate market collapsed. I had to give the house back to the bank, and then they auction it off for half price and send me a bill for over $60,000. In spite of all that, I now have a wonderful wife, 5 fantastic children, 12 grandchildren, a beautiful home, a thriving business, a great family and friends who love and believe in me. Why? Because I learned perseverance, drive, determination, seasoned with love and a reliance on God through each and every situation. John Quincy Adams once said, "Courage and perseverance have a magical talisman before which difficulties disappear and obstacles vanish into air." And then there was Lee Iacocca, who helped Ford create the incredibly successful Ford Mustang in 1965. He was later fired by Henry Ford, so what did he do? He takes over a bankrupt Chrysler Corporation for $1 a year salary. He takes out huge loans from the United States government, which he later paid back, by the way. He has this great idea for a family vehicle, calls it the minivan, and turns the dead Chrysler Corporation around to be a huge force in American automotive history. Of course, his $1 a year salary went a little bit higher than that as his reward for his sacrifice. Some people might not see it that way. There are two kinds of people in this world, those who blame everybody else for their problems and those who take personal responsibility for themselves and set out to fix their own problems. W. Clement Stone said this: "In every adversity is the seed of an equal or greater benefit." That book, The Success System That Never Fails, by Clem Stone, changed my life. He was also the general manager for Napoleon Hill, author of Think and Grow Rich. Dennis Kimbrough, co-author with Napoleon Hill of Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, said this: "Successful people dream big dreams, have a passion, something they definitely want to accomplish. We don't live in a society divided by rich versus poor, black versus white, liberal versus conservative, Republican versus Democrat, male versus female. No, we live in a society divided between dreamer versus non-dreamer. People get into trouble in life not because they wanted too much, but because they settle for too little." Did you know, according to the book The Millionaire Next Door, the average millionaire goes bankrupt 3.2 times on their way to success, dabbles in 17 different businesses, concepts, money-making schemes, and doesn't make it big until the 18th try? 30% of millionaires have a Sears card, 40% a J.C. Penney's card. Imagine that. You'd be hard-pressed to find them wearing a suit worth more than $400. In spite of adversity, they listen to the inner beating of their own heart. You know, we're faced with thousands of choices daily. Most we can ignore or turn our backs on, but there are two choices that you must make. Number one, accept circumstances as they are, or number two, take responsibility to change them. Booker T. Washington said, "The circumstances that surround a man or a woman's life are not important. It is how that individual responds is the number one determining factor whether you will fail or whether you will succeed." His definition of responsibility, it is a response with ability. He was the first African American to make the cover of Success magazine. Key number one, get yourself a big vision. What great thing would you attempt if you knew you could not fail? Key number two, be inner directed versus outer directed. What in the world does that mean? In other words, don't listen to your negative relatives. You can't do this, you can't do that. Walk to the beat of a different drummer. Robert Frost wrote years ago, "Two roads diverge in the woods, and I took the one less traveled by." So, what road are you traveling on, yours or someone else's? Still wasting time watching TV, reading the newspaper? Here's a fact. Leaders are readers. Read just 20 to 30 minutes a day and watch what happens inside of you. Commit to taking a 30-day mental fast, and I've provided a commitment sheet that you can access to give you some ideas on exactly how to do that, to clear out the clutter in your mind. In other words, the bottom line is be unique. Key number three, cut the excuses. No more excuses. And key number four, fill yourself with enthusiasm. Set yourself on fire with enthusiasm, and people will gather around you to watch you burn. Write this down. Success is a statistical event. If you make X number of calls, you'll sell something. Persistence is the key. Ask any orthopedic surgeon, a broken bone, once healed properly, is stronger than the original bone. Take, for example, Katie Couric, originally from the Today Show. When she started her career, she was an assignment editor for CNN. And she finally gets her big break. She's going to be on the television. She has her first appearance on camera. And shortly after her first appearance, the president of CNN, Reese Schoenfeld, calls the station she's reporting from and demands that she never, ever be on camera again. He said she had a high-pitched, squeaky voice and was definitely not anchor material. Katie says she went home and cried her eyes out. She was so depressed. But after that, do you know what she did? She went out and hired a voice coach, learned to project her voice, worked on her interviewing skills, and eventually landed a huge anchor position on the NBC Today show with a $7 million contract. Get this down. Your problem can be your greatest asset. It could be just what you need to give up your stubborn ways and do something about it. I can sell you a product or a service and your fast start to success box, but I can't make you successful. There is no success in a box. Take me out today and sit me in front of anyone, and I'll close a sale for you. No big deal. Will that make that person a success? No. Of course not. Why? Because your success comes from within, and you must take personal responsibility for your actions, your thoughts, your words. In other words, you are in charge of you, not your mother, not your father, your spouse, your significant other, the dog catcher, the fireman down the street. You must accept responsibility for your success or lack thereof, and you must do something about it. We celebrate Memorial Day, the 4th of July, and now commemorate September 11th. Just another 3-day weekend for fun and recreation, or is it a Memorial Day to the men and women who died to make us free? Are you willing to die for what you believe in? Hey, what kind of question is that, Dave? Hey, thanks for asking. It's all about passion. A passion with a purpose that's big enough to give you constant drive, a drive that results in self-discipline, a self-discipline that gives you a powerful work ethic, and a work ethic that achieves tangible results. You know, we like to jump from passion to results and skip all the stuff in between. We give up too easily because we in America have developed a culture of laziness. Unless you are willing to sacrifice your laziness, you will not make it in your business. So who are those heroes we look up to? William Wallace in Braveheart. He may not have been as handsome as Mel Gibson, but he lived and died for what he believed in. If you are in this business for the money, you are in it for the wrong reason. When you get your motive right, then you will be constantly motivated. Your motive must not be the money. Surprisingly enough, your motive must always be the freedom. And not freedom for just yourself, but also freedom for others. Write this down. The money is a natural byproduct of leading others to freedom. I heard this said one time, there is no such thing as a money problem, only an idea problem. When you have the right idea, the money naturally follows. I know a man who was a city bus driver who worked part-time for Wonder Bread, yet, yes, he was a pilot in a bakery. He took the bread and piled it here and piled it there. But he quit that job. He got tired of the dough, so he went on the loaf. His wife was flipping hamburgers at the White Castle restaurant. They were going to used clothing stores to buy secondhand clothes for his kids. So what happened? His adversity became his motivation to change. Watch this. He got fed up with that lifestyle. He made a conscious choice to change. He let that passion feed his discipline. It wasn't his excitement, his enthusiasm, his positive thinking that got him out of his situation. It was his disgust, his discouragement, his burning desire to make things better. And what happened to that minimum wage guy? He became the president of a multi-million-dollar company, and along the way, he taught others the way out. And those who quit whining and moaning long enough to take personal responsibility for their actions, their life, their future, have enjoyed the powerful lifestyle changes as well. Remember, as W. Clement Stone has said, every adversity has the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Are you getting it yet? A bad thing can turn into a good thing. Stop complaining about your little problems and turn them into a gold mine. Your problems could be the best thing that ever happened to you. If you learn from them, change because of them, and grow. So you see, the sweetest success comes because of, not in spite of, problems. Serious problems, all kinds of problems. As John Maxwell says, I got problems, you got problems, all God's children got problems. It's not the problems, it's what you do with them. Your problem can be the best thing that has ever happened to you. For example, Thomas Edison. At the age of 67, Thomas Edison watched as a fire destroyed his factory and most of his work and equipment. All those years, all those experiments. Time to retire? Time to hang up his lab coat? No way. Edison said, all of our mistakes are burned up. Now we can start anew. Wow, what an attitude. His true commitment came through when asked by a reporter, Mr. Edison, you've lost everything. What will you do now? His answer, we'll rebuild. John Maxwell says this about commitment. Number one, commitment is usually discovered in the midst of adversity. You never know the level of your commitment or that of a team player until things get tough. The trick is to stay committed to the commitment when the economy takes a turn for the worse, or when you lose your biggest account, or when your plant burns to the ground. Number two, commitment does not depend on gifts and abilities. Many very talented people lack commitment. Many people who lack skills and talent are tremendously committed. Number three, commitment results from choices, not conditions. Most people can look back on their lives and point to a specific time and place that marks a significant life change based on a choice made. Number four, commitment lasts when it is based on values. Values are what drive your choices and transcend your talents and skills and will stand up under the tests of adversity. Commitment based on something other than solid values usually is a house of cards, because when the wind kicks up, the house comes down. I really like what Theodore Roosevelt said. The only man who never makes a mistake is the man who never does anything. Joe Gibbs is certainly not such a man. My friend Joe Gibbs is the only coach in history who has won prestigious championships in 2 world-class sports, NFL Super Bowl and NASCAR's Winston Cup. He's a proven winner in motivating himself and others to succeed. The former Washington Redskins coach and current NASCAR team owner reveals the keys to success in his new book, Racing to Win. Through fascinating inside stories about stock car racing and football, Gibbs candidly admits his own mistakes and shares the life lessons he's learned. I was at Joe's house with some friends and his family on May 3rd, 2002, watching on TV The O'Reilly Factor. In Bill O'Reilly's interview, he questioned Joe about his real estate investment mistake when Joe was a co-signer on a land deal that almost went bankrupt. It cost Joe a lot of money to straighten that mess out. However, in hindsight, Joe said it was the best learning experience he had ever had. His book is called Racing to Win. Establish your game plan for success. I recommend it. Great book, great man, good friend. Bruce Lee may be considered one of the greatest martial artists who ever lived. He was also a great teacher. People came up to him and asked, how can I become a great martial artist like you? He'd take them out to a little gym, take them through some moves. His object was to find out what they knew about martial arts, because he said most people have the wrong information and beliefs about how to be successful in this field. So after he'd take them through this little exam, he'd sit them down at a table and place in front of them a glass of Coca-Cola. He would say, I want this glass of Coke to represent your knowledge, your beliefs about martial arts. This is what you know to be the truth. And then he would place a glass of clear water in front of them and say, I want this water to represent my knowledge, my experience and beliefs about martial arts. This is what you want from me. And Bruce said, I can't give you my understanding and beliefs because your glass is full. There is no room for anything else. He said, however, if you are willing to let go of yours and make room for mine, then we can work together. But as long as you hold on to your glass, I can't give you what you want. How many of us aren't willing to let go of our fears and conditioning because it's comfortable? It might make us miserable, but at least it's familiar, so we cling on to it, don't we? Are you willing to let go of the limiting beliefs that have held you back from creating the life you really want and deserve? Then take a piece of paper and write down on it right now the one thing that is holding you back from reaching your goals and dreams. I'll wait. Go ahead. Grab a pen, piece of paper. Okay, got it? Next, crumple it up and throw it away. Let it go. Listen to what Robert Schuller wrote about environment. Affirmation. Today I will ask myself, how can I help clean up my environment? After all, I have to live with it. Lord, help me to begin with the environment of my mind. Help me to clean up the litter of negative thoughts, recurring sinful impulses. Thank you, Father, for cleaning up the same old graffiti again and again. You never give up on me. Is it because you've chosen to live within me? So what's it going to take for you to see this? Your problems are your friends. Learn this lesson now and be amazed at the results. You can't fall if you don't climb, but there's no joy in living your whole life on the ground. Thanks for listening. I'm Dave Henning.